Captain Kyle Smith, and this week I sat down for a morning meeting with retired San Diego Fire Department Captain Dena Chavez. She shares her story of starting on the path a little later in life, but now she's embarking on what looks like a successful retirement, doing the things she loves. Hope you guys enjoy it.
All right. Hey, Dena, welcome to the bullpen. Thanks for meeting me.
Thank you, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So you've had some major life changes happening in your world over the last few weeks. You mind just sharing with us what's been going on?
Well, the most recent thing is it's my birthday today.
Ah, happy birthday.
A big 5-5. Thank you very much.
Good for you.
So, yeah. And yes, I am officially out in the world, considered retired. I don't separate service till mid-January, but I am never going back to the fire station ever again for any other reason than to say hello. So that's exciting.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all that in your first alarm, your backstory and all that, but that has to feel pretty good. That has to feel maybe a little weird, retiring into a sort of a pandemic, but it looks like we maybe have some light at the end of the tunnel. What do you plan on doing to keep yourself busy when you in retirement?
Oh my gosh, what am I going to do to not be too busy is probably the question for me. But currently, I am teaching incident command system courses for a company that is primarily focused on the utility industry, but we also teach for city governments and we teach under the state, so we can teach other fire agencies. So I teach, like I've taught for San Bernardino Fire, for Orange County Fire. So I'm still teaching. And that actually is probably going to keep me really busy because we are currently working for a pretty large utility company right now that is going to want us to do a lot of work for them. So that's one thing. I also am involved in a nonprofit called Healing Our Heroes, and it's focused on helping first responders in the military to recover from, I don't want to keep it so small, but generalization, recover from things like PTSD and, burnout and things like that. So that looks like it might be another thing that I'll be involved in the next few coming years, just, doing some nonprofit work. So
Good for you. I hear that a lot. I hear when folks retire, they just immediately fill up their schedule with all the things that maybe they feel like they didn't have time to do before, but now it's things that you really want to do. It's on your terms, which that has to feel very, very freeing in a way.
It's very liberating. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, cool. Well, why don't we get going? Why don't we get into your first alarm here? You can share your story with us, and yeah, let's just start digging in. You ready to get going?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, cool. Well, as you will remember, it hasn't been that long. A first alarm assignment on the fire department is 4 engines and a truck, but a first alarm here at the firehouse is I'll ask you 4 questions. You give us one piece of advice. That sound good?
Sure.
All right. Well, here you go. You're going to be first in on your first alarm, and that's going to be who you are, where you worked, and how long you were on.
Okay. So Dena Chavez, and on the San Diego Fire Department for 29 years and the Forest Service for a couple seasons. And I've worked all over the city of San Diego, from South Bay to the northeastern part of the city, and ended my career at the ocean, which I've never been stationed at a beach station before. So to end my career at 13s in La Jolla, Station 13, was actually really nice, and kind of got me to ease into my retirement, to be honest with you. A little slower pace.
Yeah. I mean, what a privilege it is for us to have so much variety in our department. I mean, you said you worked in the South Bay all the way to the north and everywhere in between, and then you finished up at one of our beach stations. What an absolute privilege to be able to work in a city as diverse as ours, and to have spent 29 years serving this awesome city is pretty cool. When you came on, or before you came on, maybe as somebody that was in the Forest Service, did you have any sort of background in financial literacy or anything like that? Or was this all pretty new for you?
No background whatsoever in financial literacy. The most important thing that I learned as a kid was from my dad, which was super simple. And that was, he taught my brother and I, although I think I was the only one that listened, but he taught me to save money. And back in the day, things are so different now, but back in the day, it was established credit. That was the big thing back then. So obviously I'm 55, so that was a long time ago when I was a kid, but things have changed. So that was, for me, I've always just been very good at paying my bills and not owing money. And I've always had a budget. So that's just been the basics. So I didn't really know much till I got on the fire department and started talking to people.
Was there somebody back then that you looked to, or somebody back then that kind of took you under their wing and sort of started showing you the ropes, so to speak?
There was no particular person. What seemed to be the common idea, and you'll recognize this, was put your money in deferred comp and 401k and leave it there and just ride it out. So that's what I did. And that was pretty much all of that certain generation above me. That was their model for success, because back then in those years, that probably worked for them. And then when we hit the first crash that I experienced, like in the 90s, because I came on in 92, I got hired in 92. And I would say within that first 5 years, I was making so much money in deferred, like I was making like 50% on my return on investment. I'm like, this is awesome. And then we had this big crash, right? And I lost a whole bunch of money. To me, I lost money. So then I totally switched over to, oh my God, I need to be very careful and conservative. And I've always been pretty conservative anyways with how I use money. So that was my first lesson to myself, was, for me, oh my gosh, I don't want to lose all that money again. But nobody taught me how to look at that from that long-term perspective. And I didn't know anything about the stock market. And I didn't really understand. I think the biggest misconception or lack of understanding was, we are so fortunate, or I should say I'm fortunate, that I was going to have a pension, right? So I never looked at it like, well, I've got this pension, so all that other money that I'm putting away can be used or can be invested in a certain way, right? That I can have a little bit more flexibility. And I got more scared and conservative. And that's kind of how I lived for a really, really long time. And then I worked at Station 40 with Joeypreciado, and he just knocked some sense into me, and towards but a little bit late, but maybe not late. It doesn't really matter, because it is what it is. You're always in the moment, right? So in the moment that I talked to Joey, and I really got myself kind of got a better understanding of how much money do I really need when I retire? And I've got this pension, and then I've got, some of my pension is going to be going to an ex-husband. So that changes that a little bit, what that looks like when I retire. And then all that other money that I have that I've been putting away, what does that look like? And how can I continue to invest and move money around? So talking to him really helped kind of ease my mind and sort of take a look at being a little bit more open and flexible, and how I invest.
Oh, that's cool. There's a lot there that I want to just unpack for folks. Number one, Joeypreciado at Station 40, he's somebody that was now retired, but pretty much universally understood that he had a good financial mind. He had a good grasp of what some of these products were and how to deal with them. And Station 40 in particular, for those again who aren't familiar with the area, was a station back when I came on. Maybe it was the same for you, Dena, back in the day, where some of the senior folks were, and they would sit you down and they sort of start lining out some of these things that you needed to start paying attention to, because so many of us, when we come on, we have no idea what a 401k is, what a deferred comp is. We know nothing. We're just here trying to figure out, like, if the SCBA is in this compartment over here, if it's in this compartment over here, we're trying not to look stupid, and it's those folks like Joey that take some of the newer folks or people that are already well into their career and sit them down and try to get them on the right path. That is just so valuable. And I know you feel the same way. Now, you mentioned deferred comp. Again, people listening, deferred comp for us is similar to a 457B that you may be familiar with. We have an option outside of our pension to also invest our own money in a 457 or a 401k. That's above and beyond whatever we would get as a pension from our pension. But we also have a tiered retirement system. So the new folks that are coming on are no longer in the pension system. They have a 401a type of retirement. They can also invest in the 457, but it actually reduces their the match from the city, and that's something really important for them to understand. And then
I did not know that.
Yeah, and you know what's unfortunate, Dena, is a lot of them don't know that either. That if they do, they're required to put in their 11%. The city matches that 11% for a total of 22%, which is great. It's fantastic. There's risks involved with a 401k, like we know, but if they also choose to invest in that 457 or deferred comp, like we call it, it reduces the city's match. And so that's a key point that we're trying to just get out there to help them understand that that's a big red flag for them. And then something you said that, you got hit hard in that crash in the 90s. Maybe that was the .com bubble or something like that. I wonder what your asset allocation looked like back in those days. Were you just super aggressive because you saw that account just skyrocketing 50% year over year? Maybe you were just heavily invested in stocks and no bonds. I don't really know, but when we get,
I have no idea.
Maybe not, right? We don't really know. But sometimes, when we get hurt like that, we get very gun shy, and now we want to just like hold all of our money and stay sitting in cash because we don't want to experience that huge drop again. But what people can understand is that if you have an asset allocation that fits your investment goals, fits your retirement horizon, and fits your risk tolerance, then you should be able to ride out those market fluctuations. But it is incumbent upon us having these sort of conversations that help people realize sort of ways to navigate through that. So I appreciate you sharing that. I was going to ask you, who would you consider somebody that was a successful investor on the job? Was there somebody that you looked to that you thought, man, he or she really has it figured out over here?
No. No, and that I think that like I said, like Joey was the only person that when I talked to him really seemed to have a good sense and very confident in his style and what he had done. And and I didn't grow up with parents that I didn't grow up with a lot of with money and that same education of financial education. So I really didn't know much about anything. So what I chose to do, a little bit too late again, but there was a class at City College that a financial, it's like a 2-day night class for adults and it's all through all the city colleges. They offer this course. It's put on by a private company, but they teach, and it's kind of really interesting. It's directed at, not directed, but a lot of the discussion really had to do with people who do have pensions and are city workers from all over the county. But taking that course really helped me to get, even at this late of date in my career and life, really helped me to understand the difference in the little pieces of money that I have, right? For instance, I now understand that I've been socking away, and this is only going to really matter if you have a pension, honestly, I think, in my mind. But if I'm socking away all this money, this tax deferred money in 401k and my 457, right? But I have this pension coming in. At some point, I'm going to have to pull money out of those two accounts, and my tax, where I sit in my taxes, and what I pay is going to be still in a higher tax bracket because I do have a pension. I'm not, I'm making pretty good money still. And I didn't really think about that. So all this years, I've been putting all that money in there. And again, it's about understanding what that means, right? Tax implications. And so now I understand that I have to kind of put money pre-tax also into some, Roth IRAs and some other things. And I've got well, I don't have property, I have a house, but I guess the point is I'm finally getting educated now on, I kind of wish I would have known that maybe 10 years ago, right? I could have adjusted a little bit. And so to your point, if you're new coming on the job, we do have such a, no matter what anybody says, we do have a great ability to, we're making decent money. Certainly, could we make more money? Yes. Should we have had raises? I haven't had a raise in 18 years. Yes, but that's not how it is. So what does it look like right now? And we still make decent money, and we have health insurance and all these things. So what can you do with the money that you have, and looking at it that long term and working backwards, like that's kind of how I see it now. Like, I wish I would have looked at it, okay, when I'm 55, what do I want, and then work backwards to figure out how I'm going to get that to that point.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's just reverse engineering. That's starting with the end in mind, which is a concept we talk about a lot here. That is just perfect. If you know what success is supposed to look like in your mind, then just reverse engineer it and go step by step to where you're sitting at right now, and figure out how to get there. That's the way you do this. That's perfect. And I love the fact that you're taking it upon yourself to go and get yourself educated, maybe later in life than you wish you would have, but at least you're doing it. At least you're taking action to help yourself get to those goals. That is just one of the core tenets of financial literacy, is being accountable, taking action, and taking steps each day towards those financial goals. I just love that. So the difference, you touched on it, the difference between pre-tax and post-tax, when you're trying to project out, right? You're trying to look at what retirement looks like for you. You do have to speculate a little bit. You think you're going to be in a higher tax bracket or a lower one, and then you kind of have to allocate your resources towards whichever one you think makes the most sense. So that's one thing. You don't necessarily know what tax bracket you're going to be in. You can kind of figure it out within a range. But the other thing too is, we don't know what the tax law is going to look like exactly. In 20 years, 30 years, or whatever. So some of this is a little bit of guesswork, but I think the key is that you just do something. You either do pre-tax or post-tax, knowing that you're going to have to contribute a little bit extra to make that retirement look the way that you want to. And I think that's the key for me, anyhow. You got any thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm 55 years old right now, but that's young when you look at real world, and if I can live past any particular types of health concerns or whatever might happen to me, let's say I pick 75, like let's say I'm going to live till 75, and maybe it'll be longer, but maybe it won't. But that's another 20 years I have to live off of whatever I'm making. And so I still have a long way to go with my money and managing it and what that looks like. So I better figure it out. I better learn.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, there's nobody that's going to come rescue you. You spent your career rescuing everybody else. Nobody's going to rescue us, right? This is on us. We have to get that just straight up and clear as day. It's up to us. And something that I think about a lot too is life expectancy continues to rise, but so do healthcare costs. And so at some point, there's going to be a reckoning that if you're not being accountable, you're not paying attention, and you're just expecting your pension to be enough, you're expecting the 401k to be enough, you might be in for a really rude awakening. So good for you for getting on that. Looking back, do you have a favorite mistake that you made? And I mean that a little tongue in cheek, but meaning, is there something that you did that you look back and you think, okay, that hurt, but I learned from it, or I got better from it, or something like that? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I would just say it was what I mentioned already, was really just not understanding that long-term investment philosophy, and being okay with, like just when I finally sat down with Joey and really looked at it, like for me, growing up with no money, to look at my investments and see this money that I thought I was gaining, have it go, go away. And just not because I did not understand why, or, I understood why, but I just didn't understand the long-term. I didn't have a long-term plan. And so, so had I not done that, I probably could have done better investing over the years. You know what I mean? Because I got scared, like you were saying, I got scared and I went, nope, conservative. And as I look back now, I think, nah, I could have done something different, and that's okay. But that would be the big mistake that I made, I think. And knowing that now, I can look out now 20 years and go, okay, I'm okay with that mistake that I made back then. It's over. I can't do anything about it. But now that I'm educated, I feel a little bit better. I have somebody helping me manage my money, and I understand it better. So I can look out 20 years and go, I'm okay with losing a certain amount, you know what I mean? And knowing that I've still got 20 more years to use my money
Mhm.
to invest and maybe gain something someplace, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
So,
And maybe it's going to be different for everybody, but maybe you can continue to let the 401k develop. You can continue to let that investment grow if you don't have to draw from it.
right.
And over the long term, that thing can be a really great supplement for you. I think that's just awesome. Um, is there a good resource other than Joeypreciado? I don't want everybody contacting him looking for him to,
I know.
and I'm sure he's not looking for that either. But is there a resource
No,
that we could turn to that might help somebody kind of navigate some of this stuff?
I personally don't. I mean, like I said, the thing I did two things. One, I subscribed to Money Magazine for a long time and just read. I just read stuff. I just read what I could to try to get more educated for myself. And then I took that class, like you said, at the city colleges. Every single city college has this class, and there's different financial companies, I think, that teach. And it's a little curriculum they have. It's just 2 nights, and it really did. It's the basics in it, but it talks about it talks about investments, it talks about pensions, it talks about trusts. They give you that whole gamut of um, preparing for your future. You know, what does that look like, and what are the things that you should do what are some of these things that you need to do to really protect yourself and your investments and make a plan, you know, a life plan, basically.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I'll give a selfish plug. The Firehouse. The Firehouse is a great resource for folks that are interested in financial literacy, that have some questions, that want to learn a little bit more. We have a huge network. And we have to leverage that, because there are people that have come before us. There are people that are coming after us that have experienced these things themselves. And so we don't have to make every mistake that's already been made. We can learn from others, and we can improve, and we can try to build off of that. And I think that as long as these conversations continue to be had, then everybody's going to benefit from them. But the other thing too is the library. The library is a great resource for an endless number of books. Online, you can get almost any book under the sun. There are so many books now on Audible that you can listen to on your way into work or while you're exercising or whatever else. There really is no excuse to not go out there and find some resources to help you become a little bit more financially literate. It just really is a choice. Jim Raines,
Right.
who people listening to this from San Diego will remember as somebody that was on our job. He's now a board member of the San Diego Firefighters Credit Union. And he said that exact thing. He said, this is a choice. It's a choice you make in your daily life. You made a choice, Dena, to go to City College to take this class. You didn't have to do that. You did it on your own time, but it was something that was important to you because you saw the long-term objectives. And I just think that's really important. And if there's nothing else that people get from this morning meeting here today, it's a choice. You have to go out there and get it. Now, looking back, is there any advice you'd give your probationary firefighter self?
Oh, well, I mean, for certain, not to take the word of the guy sitting next to me, quote unquote, right? Like, just because so one of the things, and it's happening right now, is that we're all different. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different lifestyles. Some of us have families, some of us don't. Some of us have pensions, some of us don't. So the different, as you said, tiers that are happening back in the day, even back in the day when we were all quote unquote, you know, on the same playing field, it doesn't matter because we all have a different perspective on things. And so I think had I thought about it as a probie, I would have reached out more, or I might have done more research, or I might have, it probably took me maybe 5 to 7 years, maybe even a little bit more before I had a financial advisor. And that was the first time I kind of just thought about that right now. There was a, through my American Express card, they had this offer and I went and saw a financial advisor. So I learned, a bunch of stuff with him, and I kind of forgot about it. I also had some interesting contacts with him. But anyways, so I think as a probie, just really early on, trying to look at what is your plan, right? Because it's super easy to go, well, I'm making this money now, I want to go buy a truck. Or just the other day, one of my friends bought a brand new truck. It's an awesome truck. And he said to me, he goes, gosh, I should be thinking about buying a house. I go, well, why? Well, I probably should just, have that for an investment. I go, yeah, but we don't live in the same time period that we lived in 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, right? And so maybe that isn't necessary for you in this time period. I'm not saying it is or isn't. It's not my choice to make, but I know I'm never going to pay my house off. For me personally, I'm not going to pay my house off. So is it really that important for somebody right now to purchase property? Versus having a really nice truck. I don't know. It's up to you. It's your life, right? But I guess that's it. Everybody's got a different, they have to do their own research, like you're saying, talk to different people with different backgrounds, and then really then formulate your opinion based on kind of what you think is going to fit for you. So talking to more people.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Personal finance is just that, right? It's personal. What makes sense for me doesn't necessarily make sense for you or the guy that just bought the new truck. Before we started this morning meeting, I was on the phone with another one of our guys, and he was asking me what I thought about his asset allocation, what I thought he should do, and whether I thought he should mimic a friend of his, another person on our job. And I said, man, it's so different. It depends on those three things: your investment goals, your retirement horizon, and your risk tolerance. So if you combine those three things and they align perfectly with what this guy over here is doing, then yes, do what he's doing. If it doesn't, then you have to talk to somebody. You have to go out, and I'll link to some financial advisors that I've had here on the morning meeting. That if some of our folks want to reach out to you, they're just fantastic because they can help you formulate your plan. They can see the big picture. They can help you project out 20, 30, 40 years, or maybe it's just even 5 years, and get you on the path towards financial independence. But it's going to be different for everyone. Now I said I was going to ask you 4 questions and 1 piece of advice. I'm going to ask you 1 extra one while I have you here. What does successful retirement look like for you?
Ooh, successful retirement. That's hard. That's personal. Because it's not just about finances. Of course, we always think about finances, right? Of course, if I'm financially secure, then I should be happy, but that doesn't necessarily equate, right? So, but that being said, because I have grown up without money, and that is a big deal for me. I remember I was talking to Tony Pernicano actually on my last work day, and I said I was worried about making sure I have enough money, and he goes, of course you have enough. We all have enough. And he wasn't talking about money. He's not talking about money. He's like, you have enough. You're always going to have enough. Like what you got this, we all got this far, so what does enough look like? So I think that for me, as long as I've got my house, a place to live, and I can hang out with my friends, and, I would love to take more trips. That would be great. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see. But I think the fact that I got this far in my life, I've gotten this far in my life, I made it. I'm not horribly injured. So I think that, and I have the opportunity, I've got this wonderful opportunity ahead of me to do anything that I want to do, honestly. So I'm very fortunate, I'm very fortunate to be in a good position financially. Even if I don't have tons of money to be able to go do a million different things, I have enough to do what I want, to be happy. And so I think I think that the biggest thing for me is, I've always not spent more than I have, other than, owning a house or maybe owning a car. In my life, my principle was always not to have credit card debt, not to be in debt. And to me, that just that means that I'm living within my means. And if I live within my means, then I should be able to be happy. You know what I mean? Like, that's what life's about. Live within your means and enjoy what you can enjoy with what you have.
That sounds exactly like success. And I love that. I absolutely love that. You have enough. We all have enough. That's just fantastic. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up your first alarm. And with that, looks like you got knocked down, Dena. So you still got it.
Yeah, you're so cute. Thank you.
So if anybody's looking to learn more about you or get in contact with you, where could they find you?
So I am on Facebook, on social media under Dena Chavez, and then also my email is denaslife2@gmail.com. So
cool. I'll link to all that in the show notes. If you're looking to find out more about what successful retirement looks like, or the path it takes to get there, reach out to Dena. And I just want to say thank you for your time today, but also thank you for your service to this fine city, and all the best in retirement.
Thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again to Dena for meeting me here in the bullpen. I love her approach, and that she's always trying to improve. She's always trying to find that 1 extra % of improvement to help get her down the path towards success, knowing that it's never too late to start, even if you get to start later in life. If you'd like to learn more about Dena, you can find her on her email, denaslife2@gmail.com, or on Facebook at Dena Chavez. If you'd like to learn more about us, we're on Facebook at The Firehouse. That's f.i.r.ehouse. On Instagram, the _fire_house. On LinkedIn, The Firehouse Investors, or any place you listen to podcasts. If you learned something today and you'd like to hear more, please like, share, and subscribe. But no matter what you do, take this information, go out there, and get some. Station F.